Hi, I'm Elizabeth Dings, and this is Susanna Hunt. Happy holidays. Today I'll be making lobster Newburg, my favorite Christmas dish. And Susanna, you'll be making?
I'm going to be making potato latkes, which is a traditional Hanukkah dish.
Great. So when does Hanukkah start this year?
Starts December 18th. That'll be the first night, and then it goes along for 8 nights.
Nice. All right, well, you can get started, and I'm going to separate my ingredients.
Okay, great. So just to let you know, it's a very simple recipe. You start with 2 large russet potatoes and 1 onion, and you will peel them and cut them and put them in the Cuisinart. And then you're going to add 2 large eggs, kosher salt, baking powder, flour, and pepper. So we'll get started. I've already pre-cut some of the potatoes and the onion, but you just peel them. And Elizabeth, so how do you start your?
All right, so I start with 1 stick of butter, 3 tablespoons of flour, and I make sure this is really well mixed together so there aren't any lumps. And then from there I put in 1.5 cups of cream.
So once everything is grated in the Cuisinart, you put it in a bowl, and then we're going to add the rest of our ingredients, which is the flour and the baking soda, and the salt and pepper, and then 2 eggs. And this you kind of want to do quickly because you don't want your potatoes to brown. And then you give it a good mix. Some recipes suggest that before you add everything that you squeeze out the liquid from the potatoes with a towel, but I did it last night for my family and I didn't do that because I forgot and they were perfectly fine. So this is it, we just mix it up a little.
That looks good. While you're doing that, I'm going to add 1.5 cups of cream to my melted butter and flour.
And Elizabeth, do you know the history behind Hanukkah and how the tradition started?
A little bit, but could you refresh my memory?
So 2,000 years ago, the Greeks basically were invading most of the Middle East, and they took over and had the Israelites were slaves, the Maccabees. So they took over one of the most sacred temples and required that the Maccabees worshipped idol gods, which is something that we don't do, and they put statuary up all around the temple, and they slaughtered pigs on the altar, and a very small group of warriors decided this is enough, and they rose up against the Greek army, and they actually won. So when they were taking back the temple, they only had enough sacred oil that was going to last for 1 day. And it took a long time to clean up the temple and to do everything. And over 8 days, miraculously, the oil lasted for 8 days as opposed to 1 when they could get more sacred oil.
Right.
So that is where the 8 days of Hanukkah came from. And it's really a testament to, strength and tenacity and hope. And that's what the holiday is really all about.
And so that explains the menorah?
Yes. So the menorah then has 8 candles, and 1 is called the shamas, and that's the one that was the oil for 1 night, and you use that every night to light all of the candles.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Do you know the history of lobster Newburg?
I do not.
So, back in 1876, a sea captain named Ben Wenberg came in with lobster meat or lobsters, and he went into Delmonico's restaurant in New York City, and they came up with, they put cream and sherry and came up with lobster Newburg, and they put it on toast points.
Oh, you're kidding. Oh, on just toast points. So that's how we then now use puff pastry. Exactly. Okay, that's so cool. Okay, so everything for my latkes are mixed, and you can see that in the bowl there. So then you just take sort of a heaping tablespoon, this is where it gets messy, and put it into hot oil. So, I mean, really, it's potatoes and oil. How could that be bad? You can't really go wrong.
I know, it's delicious. While you're doing that, I'm gonna add my lobster in. And my brother always says at the Christmas party, everyone wants to know the secret of my lobster Newburgh. And it does have a secret, but he says that my secret is the lobster because I put so much in.
I was gonna say, that looked like a lot of lobster to me too.
Yeah, it's loaded with lobster. I probably put in over a quarter. I put in more than a pound for every 4 people. So that's a good amount.
Wow, that is a lot. So the latkes take probably 4 minutes, maybe 5 on each side. And I flip them in the oil. I mean, if you had a deep fryer, you could certainly use that. It's not traditional, it would be quicker. But this is the traditional way of doing it. And when they're nice and golden brown, then I'll flip it over. And then once they're done, they get placed on paper towel to dry and soak up some of the oil. And hopefully all the little edges are crunchy and yummy.
And I'm adding my secret ingredient, which is cheese. It's American cheese. Rather than using egg yolks, I use American cheese.
Oh, because it's so creamy
It's
when
so
it
creamy.
melts.
Yeah, and cheese with lobster, it's just a nice flavor.
Yeah.
You can use cheddar, but I like American because it's nice and mild.
So does it thicken the sauce?
Yes, and it thickens the sauce. So when I don't have a recipe, which is always, I just go by how it looks. So right now it looks like it needs to be thickened.
Sounds like you cook like I do. People always ask me for recipes and I'm like, it's what I had in the refrigerator. I know. This one though, this is a great recipe, and if I can do this, kudos to the New York Times because it's super simple and it never fails and it's delicious. So Hanukkah this year, did we say it starts December 18th?
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's the first night?
The first night, yep. And you know, it's interesting because now the tradition is that children get gifts every night and so forth, and that really was brought on so that they had something to do when they're Christian compatriots, you know, were opening gifts, that they had something fun to do too. But it's a real family time. My family tradition is we all get together for Hanukkah at my parents' house. My dad slaves over the latkes for hours. I make the matzo ball soup, which is another tradition. And we always have brisket and chicken, and it's just, you know, it's a fun meal. It's like a Christmas dinner.
Right, that is fun. When I make this, we also have a tenderloin. We have asparagus, béarnaise sauce, a salad, green beans almondine. It's just like a huge feast.
So if I can come to Christmas, you can come to Hanukkah.
Thank you, thank you. That would be fun, actually. I like that idea.
Yeah, we have done that. You know, living here, it's definitely been 20-something years of teaching people about our traditions, and it's been really fun.
This is another secret ingredient. So a traditional lobster Newburgh calls for sherry, but I don't love the taste of sherry, so what I use is a nice cognac. This is a Remy Martin. And I think it gives it a richer flavor. Sherry can be kind of, I don't know, tart. And I go with 3 big tablespoons.
Wow. Of course, the alcohol burns off, so anybody who's worried about that. Ooh, these are shaping up nicely.
And this is coming out the way it always does on Christmas Eve, nice and soupy, and I'm like, why isn't it thick? Last night when I made it, it was nice and thick.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, I don't know, it's just something.
But you could always add something to it, right?
I'm gonna add more flour.
Yeah, I was gonna say you could add a little flour. Cooking on the fly. All right, these are just about done. My kids are gonna be so happy. I had to slap their hands away from eating them last night when I was making them.
Did they have any? Did you have?
Oh yeah, yeah. My husband had one. I had a couple. The kids had several.
And what do you serve it with? I know you told me.
So yeah, so traditionally with the latkes, you serve it with applesauce and sour cream, and that is part of the theme in our history of, the trials and tribulations of things that you have to go through that are hard to get to things that you go through that are sweet. So as they are done, you just place them on paper towel just to soak up some of that oil. And then you go on with the next batch. You don't want to crowd them in the pan. You want to make sure they have lots of space. But I think that about wraps it up for them. And I mean, they look beautiful. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah, they're gorgeous. That looks delicious. So I'm gonna add my other ingredient that I love, love, love. It's nutmeg.
Oh yeah.
And that's kind of like also what it helps make it taste like Christmas.
Absolutely, nutmeg's a huge Christmas
Spice,
yeah. There we go. Tablespoon?
at least, yeah, for sure.
Looks like a tablespoon.
And then the very last thing that I'll put in is salt and pepper. And that's just to taste.
Wow, it looks delicious.
Thank you. I'm just gonna stir it a little bit.
Great. Oh yeah, it's really thickening up now.
I like to take just a nice, good heaping spoonful and fill up the puff pastry. And I'll just do a few here and have a little bit drip over the side.
Oh my God, that looks so good.
Thank you.
I can't wait to try it.
I know. And then I take chives. And this is, I wasn't sure about this, but this adds like a really nice flavor.
Yeah.
It's not overwhelming, and makes it a little prettier as well, so.
Yeah, a little green garnish always goes a long way.
And there you have it.
Wow.
Lobster Newburgh.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
And then we have the finished product of the potato latkes with the applesauce and the sour cream. And this is my menorah. And this is the shamus. This is the one that signifies the 1 day of oil that was left. And then these are the 8 days. And you start from the right and you go to the left. So you would light the shamus. You say a little prayer, which I won't do. And then you just light them all the way across. And not only is it significant, it's beautiful. Well, I'm having a little trouble there.
Are the candles always tricolor?
No, I happen to like these, but the traditional ones are actually really short and different multiple colors, and the kids always loved that when they were little. These I like because they're dripless and they don't make such a mess.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So I have a little secret too. What we do if we're having a little party and we have kids over and you don't really want to spend a lot of time making the latkes, Trader Joe's has potato latkes and they're delicious.
They look good.
They're really good.
Not as good as yours, but they look good.
But that's a fun way to sneak a little, fun into your life without spending all day in front of the oil.
Looks amazing. All right, I'm really excited.
Me too. Cheers.
Cheers.
Okay.
Bon appetit.
You can really taste the nutmeg. So good.
Oh my gosh, delicious.
Good.
Oh my gosh, I love these.
Yeah, they are good. I do too.
What type of oil do you use?
I used a canola oil. It's really one of the best. It heats very quickly and it doesn't saturate it.
Right.
You can't really use olive oil. It would
Right.
taste too heavy.
Right.
But a saffron oil, canola oil, something like that's really the trick.
Okay, this is delicious.
Oh, good. I'm glad. This is great too. I think I might bring this to my husband's Christmas dinner.
Okay, well, thank you for joining us today, and happy holidays.
Happy holidays to you and your families.